Hello and welcome to another weekly fixation. It's finally that time of the week where we get to take a look back at all that we've watched, read, or listened to and discuss what we just couldn't keep out of our heads. This week, though, we were not prepared. I'm Brennan Sem.
And I'm Shade Sem, and we are the New Wave Nerds.
All right, so this week, you guessed it, we're going to be discussing the Warcraft movie. Came out in 2016, directed by Duncan Jones, and starring Travis Fimmel and Paula Patton. So, yes. Shade, no spoiler reviews. What did you think of this movie, revisiting it after so long?
Well, it's been so long that I didn't remember really a thing.
Yeah.
But I guess rewatching it, it succeeded my expectations of what I thought. In my mind going into it, it was going to be kind of it's just going to be all bad CGI, you know. From what I remember hearing about the movie is it was crap. The writing was just horrible, you know. So I didn't go into the movie with too high of expectations, but it did succeed them.
Exceed.
Sorry. It did exceed my expectations, but there, of course, were some problems I had with CGI at times when it mainly was set when the the scene was mainly centered around actual physical actors and only some CGI. The CGI was very, very bad. But when it was centered around just the orcs, it looked fantastic. You know, it looked great. And so I guess it was better than what I thought it was going to be.
Yeah, definitely. And I'll agree with that, too. It certainly exceeded my expectations. You know, I remember going to see this when it came out, and I'm obviously a huge fan of the Warcraft universe. Warcraft 3, I've played so many times. Obviously, World of Warcraft, I don't even know how many hours I've logged into that, thanks to my dad. I was born on the keyboard. But, you know, I agree, it definitely exceeded my expectations. I remember not really liking the movie.
Yeah.
And, most of that, I remember specifically most of that was definitely because of the story, right? There's quite a few points where it sort of walks away from the source material.
Yeah.
And I remember not being very happy about that. But looking back, I understand, you know, some of the decisions they made. Some of them make more sense when you've only got 2 hours instead of, you know, an 8-hour-long game or whatever. Yeah. There's only so much you can do. I'll agree that some of the CGI was a little bit wanting. You know, some of it wasn't exactly, you know, top tier.
Yeah.
Granted, you know, it's almost a decade ago, 2016. We're looking at 8 years. So, I mean, let's think what else came out this time. 2016 was the year of Civil War.
Batman versus Superman.
Batman v Superman.
Planet of the Apes, one of the movies.
I think. I don't know which one off the top of my head. But I think you're right.
I was still basically a fetus at this time.
Okay, so it was between Dawn and War.
Okay, yeah.
So it was 2 years after Dawn. But here's what I will say. I'm actually glad that you brought up Planet of the Apes because we have sort of similar technology being used here, both sort of motion capture VFX,
yes.
In that case to make chimpanzees and gorillas, and in this case to mostly make orcs. And I think both movies did it really, really well. I loved the way that the orcs looked in this. Mm-hmm. I think the animation on Draka isn't as strong as it is on all of the other orcs, but like on Durotan, Orgrim, Gul'Dan, and Blackhand, I was incredibly impressed. You know, the 4 main orcs. Even Orgrim, who doesn't necessarily play a massive role throughout the movie, he's only there for, it feels like, a really short time.
Yeah.
And yet they took the time to make sure that he looked good, because even though he doesn't appear often, he is integral to the story, you know? And so that much I really enjoyed.
And what I'm about to say might be, a lot of people might disagree with, but I prefer bad CGI over bad makeup effects. And in this movie, what's her name?
Garona.
I'm saying Gamora.
Yeah.
Garona. I feel like they were a little lazy with her makeup, and they just painted her green and gave her some fake things. You know, I don't know. Maybe some prosthetics would have added to it. Just some prosthetics, like keeping like she doesn't have to be absolutely bulky because I know she's that way for a certain reason.
Right.
But maybe some prosthetics around like the cheekbones make her look more orky a little.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely agree. So her story is that she's half orc and half unknown breed.
Yeah.
And then it's never explicitly stated, but it's heavily, heavily implied that she is actually the daughter of... sorry, this is spoilers. That's spoilers. I'm not going to say his name, but... we find out, or it's heavily, heavily implied that Garona is actually half human.
Yeah.
So while I'll agree, I don't necessarily think that the makeup on her was incredible. I think they definitely could have done a little bit more to make it look better. I understand, the desire to make her look visibly different from all of the orcs because she's supposed to sort of be a midway point between the orcs and the humans.
Yeah.
But I'll agree with you that they probably should have done a little bit more to make her slightly more orcish.
Yeah.
I think it would have been an interesting choice if they had decided to make her look orcish to the extent where she looks mostly just like the runt of the litter.
Yeah.
Like maybe she was malnourished as a child, and then throughout the course of the movie, we learn that she looks different because she's actually not full orc. That maybe would have been a little bit better, but that being said, I also like that she looks very human because she is the main contact point, between the orcs and the humans. Sure, there's some conversation with Durotan, but she's the interpreter, she's the translator, she's the person who informs the humans of the orcs' plans, basically. Not full plans, obviously, because she doesn't know everything, but, she is that sort of midway point.
I like how they stayed really close with attention to detail on her around the neck, when she has that, because at the beginning this isn't really like, I guess it's pretty important to the character, she's breaking loose of the chains, but for a while that she has like a lock around her neck.
Well, yeah, we can actually see that she has markings here in this image that we pulled up. She's got markings from the shackles.
And the bruises stay there for a solid while throughout the movie,
Yeah.
And it's not it's not an important thing, but it's something that I kind of want to acknowledge.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah, it's a little detail that makes sense. Well, and I didn't even notice it when we were watching the movie. I didn't notice it until just now when you mentioned it. So, yeah, I do enjoy when they have little details like that sort of build up the continuity.
Yeah.
I do want to go back a little bit to the CGI because I just want to say that the final battle between the orcs and the humans is absolutely amazing, in my opinion. I thought it looked really good from start to finish. It was really interesting to see them clash, and I really enjoyed the battle as a whole.
Yeah. The fight between... I'm trying to remember these names, but the fight between the main him.
Which guy?
This
one?
Yeah.
Anduin Lothar is his name.
Yes,
played by Travis Fimmel.
The ending fight between him and the guy who, well, I'm not gonna say it, but a certain guy who did something bad to him. That was my favorite fight in the whole movie. I know it was short, but the rest of the scene was so good. Yeah.
Well, and I remember that was one of the things that made me not really like the movie all that much when I was younger.
Really?
Because I wanted to see a really epic... actually, so to fully talk about this fight, why don't we just transition to the spoiler section and start talking a little bit more about the in-depth story. So this is your spoiler warning, your final one. At this point, I mean, honestly, it's an 8-year-old movie, so spoilers are kind of moot if you're not going to see it.
You're a little late.
Yeah. Anyways, spoiler warning over. Okay, so I wanted to see a really, really epic battle between Anduin Lothar and Blackhand. I wanted to see that Mak'gora really play out. And at the time, I was disappointed that we didn't get to see the full fight. But now looking back, I understand the choice a little bit more. You want to showcase that this is an intelligent fighter who reads the situation. He's had confrontations with Blackhand before, and so he understands how to beat them. And because of that, he executes him in like 2 seconds flat.
Yeah. In a pretty pretty bad way too.
Well, and even further than that, I also now like it would be a little bit weird to have an interesting long battle sequence between the two of them after Anduin Lothar just leaves from the big battle with Medivh.
Yeah.
You know, it would feel a little much.
Well, I guess my favorite part from that whole fight scene is when he's like, or the wizard. Is he a wizard or
well, it would be mage, but who are we talking about?
For the orcs, he's the big bad.
Gul'Dan?
Yeah, Gul'Dan.
He's a warlock.
Okay, warlock.
I thought we were talking about Medivh or Khadgar.
Sorry.
No, that's my bad.
Gul'Dan.
Gordon.
So Gordon.
Commissioner Gordon.
Gordon's like, but Gul'Dan, he's like, okay, kill him after he just won, you know?
Yeah.
And then I like this changing point because all the other orcs, you know, they stand their ground, they respect the tradition, and yeah, they don't let the tradition change.
Yeah, no, I like that too because it really harkens back to the orcs in the game. You know, they're a very honor-driven society. They have a tradition that they follow, and this Mok Gorah is one of their basically a sacred right? A challenge for leadership.
Yeah,
and you know, first Gul'Dan cheats. Or sorry, that's a different one. That's earlier. So Gul'Dan cheats. And so they're already kind of like iffy about following him. And then we have, Anduin Lothar win the Mok Gorah in an honorable way through fair combat. And the orcs are like, all right, this is the last straw. You know, we're not going to fight this guy. We can't refute our tradition twice in one evening, you know? And I really like that. I agree. I thought it was cool that we get to see orc society in that little bit.
What I guess one of my favorite character duos and I guess chemistry is our main orc, our nice orc Durotan and his friend,
the bald one.
Yes,
or
the one you
Doomhammer.
really like.
Yes,
Doomhammer. Yes,
Doomhammer.
Their conversation in the hut, from what I remember, was very, very good, you know?
Yeah.
And then Doomhammer, I really liked how he gave his wife, Durotan's wife, a warning to leave.
Yeah.
You know, and then that scene was also really great too.
Yeah, that was really cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, with the three of them. Yeah, so you mentioned it. Orgrim Doomhammer is one of my favorite characters from all of the Warcraft universe. He's so fun. He's so cool to me, and he has such an interesting story arc. I was glad that he got to play a role in this. I wish he'd been able to play a bit of a larger role.
Yeah.
The same complaint I have with the Warlords of Draenor World of Warcraft expansion. I wish Orgrim had played a larger role in that too, but he sort of gets shuffled to the sideline. But I agree with you. I really, really liked the interaction between Durotan and Orgrim. You definitely get the sense that these are people who grew up together. These are people who know each other. These are basically brothers, right? They're brothers in arms, if nothing else.
Yeah.
And so they're incredibly close. And so when, again, we're in the spoiler section here. So when Orgrim eventually betrays Durotan, it hurts a little bit. And you can tell that it bothers Durotan when they meet up afterwards. But you also get a good insight into the character of Durotan because he is understanding and pragmatic. Orgrim gives him a heartfelt apology where he explains, and he's just honest. You know, Orgrim says, I didn't see how we would be able to ally with the humans, but Gul'Dan will kill us. Gul'Dan will destroy us and our people. And Durotan has the sense and the wisdom in that moment to be like, okay, I'm still mad at you, but we're going to take this opportunity to right your wrong and to save our people. That's what a leader does, right? Most people would be like, I don't care. I'm going to log you in here now because you betrayed me. Now I'm going to leave you to the mercy of Gul'Dan.
Yeah.
But Durotan is wise and strong, and he realizes that he needs Orgrim.
For a while during, for a while in the movie, I kept thinking about the fact that, or I kept forgetting that you told me they're basically from a different planet, or they are from a different planet.
Yeah.
You know, and I keep forgetting that, and I'm like, how don't they know about these orcs? You know, and then I remember I'd be like, oh wait.
Yeah, and I'm glad that you actually mentioned that, because that was something I wanted to talk about, but I'd forgotten. I liked the dark portal in this.
Yes.
I thought it was weird that when it first appears on Azeroth, it's like in the ground. I didn't necessarily like that, but I really liked how they continued to sort of use it throughout the movie and the role that it plays in the climactic battle. And I really liked being able to see the orcs build the gate itself. I thought that was cool. But the reason that I sort of don't necessarily like it in some cases is because I like the story from the original game where Medivh helped build the portal.
Yeah.
And Medivh played a much more active role in bringing over the orcs. I thought that story was more interesting. But that being said, it would be weird to show up in this movie and just have the gate be there. You would have to add a couple scenes explaining what's going on, and to really explain that in a way that makes sense in that opening act, you kind of have to spoil the big reveal of the movie, which obviously I know going in from the game, but when you're watching the movie, it's relatively unclear for quite a while that Medivh is actually working with the orcs and with the demons.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you got to give him some credit. You know, it took him a lot of obsidian to build that portal.
Yes. Sorry, go ahead.
Oh, sorry.
No, you go first.
I did. I liked the portal, but I guess I did not. I didn't really like how you couldn't run in from the other side.
Yeah.
You know, I don't know. That could have been really interesting if they allowed it to where you could run in from the other side, so that way they had to have more protection around the portal.
Yeah.
Just add more.
Yeah. I mean, that makes sense from an outside perspective. Like, that is the logical way to do that portal, is to be able to make it so you can go in or come out from either side.
Yeah.
That's the logical way to do it. But in this movie, I will say, because I played the game, I liked that they added that, because in the game you can't enter from the back.
Oh, okay.
You can't go in for pause.
Yeah, I was about to say.
You can't go into the portal from the other end, because I would imagine it's something from like a software code perspective. Like, you had to have the teleporter, the thing that moves you from instance to instance, on the one side. Yeah. So I like that was in the movie. But yeah, no, I agree. From a story standpoint, it would be much more interesting if you were able to go from both sides, because then you would have a battalion of orcs trying to attack Stormwind itself. But the issue with that from a story perspective is that the way that they made this story, all of the humans charge on the Black Gate, all of the human warriors, that is, the entire army. They send all of, because they're basically destroyed already. They have like, I think he says something like 3 battalions left or something like that. So they're running on fumes here after they already lost like 11 or 18 or something ridiculous.
Oh, sorry.
No, you go ahead.
I guess one thing that I was like, why didn't you just do that, was the king. Sorry, another thing. I loved the design of the king's armor at the end.
Oh yeah,
and his lion helmet. That thing looks awesome.
Yeah.
Oh, his armor too. His armor's pretty cool.
Oh, Anduin Lothar.
Yeah. But you know, okay, so the good warlock on their side, is that
J.B. Lee Curtis.
Well,
anyways, continue.
The good warlock on their side, of course, he got crushed by a big thing and he's dying, but he's still keeping the portal open.
Here we go. Here's Llane. Anduin Llane wins.
And the king is at the portal and he's trying to get through, but he can't now because the portal is slowly closing. And I sat there for a second and I wondered, well, I wonder if it still works if you could jump in. And then I saw some guy just jump in under it. And I was like, well, go, bro. Just slide under. You're the king.
Yeah. But here's what I will say. So a few things. One, if there's a portal in front of me and people are going through and it starts to break apart, I wouldn't think that you'd be able to go through. I would think if you touched it, you probably
explode.
Yeah, you probably die by some magical means. And another point is that earlier, Anduin Wrynn. Sorry, that's the king in the game right now. Llane Wrynn, is that his name? Pretty sure it's Llane. Yeah, Llane Wrynn. There we go. I said Anduin Llane Wrynn earlier too. Llane earlier refuses to go through the portal because he says, I'm not going back until all of the civilians are back.
Yeah.
And then the portal starts to close, and there are some civilians still by his side. So if you want to take a charitable view of the king, which I think is warranted here, he seems like a good king by all accounts. His thought process was, if I'm going to die, then I'm going to die fighting for my people. You know, because in any case, even if he passed through, the whole human army gets wiped out, and then that's all of the army. Then he just goes back to Stormwind and is with the women and children and the sick and elderly, you know? Yeah. It's like he's going to die anyway. Why not die to protect others? Die for duty, die for honor, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. I did like his death. You know, it was a pretty cool scene.
I disagree. I did not think it was a cool scene. I hated the fact that the battle is going on around them, raging around them, and for some reason, the battle slows down.
Oh yeah,
the battle slows, and yet they're talking still at regular speed. I hated that.
I'm just talking about like the story point. That the zoom in on his face was also stupid that they added.
Yeah.
No, that whole slow motion crap around them, that was
dumb. So from a story perspective, I'm sort of torn. on Garona being the one who kills Llane.
Yeah.
Because from a certain point of view, it does make sense, right? Because if you're Llane and Garona kills you, then she can be back in the good graces of the Orcs and help foment the rebellion against Gul'Dan, which they all know is increasing. And then eventually she can help lead the Orcs and the humans together. But the problem is Llane doesn't tell anybody the plan.
Oh, yeah.
He doesn't tell anybody. Well, and to be fair, even if he did tell anybody, they all would have died. Because the only person who escapes that battle is Anduin Lothar, who hadn't appeared yet. So he doesn't tell anybody. So as far as anybody in the whole world knows, except for Garona, she just betrayed him. And if you're Anduin Lothar, like say hypothetically in a Warcraft sequel, if you're Anduin Lothar and Garona approaches you and she says, he wanted me to stab him, are you going to believe that?
Well, yeah. No.
He wanted me to kill him. He wanted me to stab him in the neck so that I could be the hope for all Orc kind and Orc-human relations. No, I would think you're lying to me now to betray me. No. So it's like, from a certain viewpoint, it makes sense, but in this context, it's just dumb. It's a dumb idea.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I mean, also, again, Llane knows he's going to die. He knows there's no escape. So if you're going to have someone kill you, are you going to have it be Garona, or are you going to have it be Blackhand, who's on his way? You know?
Oh yeah, he was cooking.
I mean, like, you know, are you going to have your death be by the hands of someone who is going to strengthen the horde? Or are you going to have your death be at the hands of somebody who, no matter how slim the chances are, might bring the horde to a better place in the future?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I did not like how she kind of like crept up on him a little in battle.
Yeah,
she stood there. She stood there for a while too,
yeah,
holding him, and he was like,
I'm waiting.
You know, and I was like, well, I mean, either an orc would come up and chop your head off, or
yeah,
or one of his guys would come and kill you because you're about to stab his king. So, you know, it was just kind of, it was like, that would have been cooler if it was a quick, like, grab and stab.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking, too, is, like, you're not selling the play here.
Yeah.
You're not selling the act, you know, because Anduin, or I keep calling him Anduin.
Anakin.
Llane, if somebody grabs you, you're not just going to stand there. You're going to flail about, try and spin around, maybe even just stab him right in the back, you know?
Yeah.
Like, you got to sell the act a little bit. But,
Yeah.
I mean, it's the heat of battle. Who's really paying attention?
Yeah. Well, and to be fair, he was probably accepting his fate as best as possible.
Yeah, he was probably still trying to come to terms with it himself.
Yeah. That's a dope shirt that guy had on.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Nobody could see that. And I didn't even see it. I have no idea what you're talking about. So, we mentioned CGI, and we alluded to this conflict earlier, but I want to talk about the climactic battle between Anduin Lothar, Khadgar, who is the apprentice mage, the guardian novitiate, or former guardian novitiate, and Medivh, the guardian proper. Terrible CGI.
Yeah.
Horrible. Just awful. Like, it was the worst in the whole movie.
It was very atrocious.
Yeah, it was really, really bad.
It was hard to watch at times.
It was, and it was tough because we mentioned this while we were watching it. We would switch. We would cut from the battle with Medivh to the battle between the orcs and the humans. And the orcs and the humans, that battle looked really good. I mean, we talked about how good it looked,
Yeah.
And so it was awkward seeing these two things juxtaposed. Here's an image of what he looks like for reference.
Oh yeah, he gets smashed by a big rock monster. That's how he dies. That's what falls on him. I was trying to remember if it was just like rubble from the ceiling.
It's made of clay. First
what?
of all, it's a golem.
I don't.
But what I will say is, despite the fact that this looked terrible, I did like
cool.
the what it looked like when he was the resolution on that's really bad. When he was fully demonized, let's say. I thought there's like an effect on this that changes the color grade, so it's not really a good look. But I liked the way that it looked, especially because it felt very Warcraft demon, and it's obviously very Fell inspired, and I really enjoyed it. And I like the idea that while this is happening, Medivh, and I wish they'd sort of name dropped this or alluded to it a little bit, but to be fair, they didn't even have this name, I don't think, when the original game came out. But I would have liked if they had mentioned that Medivh was being possessed by the demon Sargeras. This is... sorry, I guess he's not a demon. He was a former Titan who turned into a demon, essentially. And
so
this
is a demon.
I mean, I don't actually know if he technically turned into a demon, so I was just saying that to sort of, make the point. But he's a former Titan, so he's like this former cosmological being who is supposed to be a force for good, and he eventually gets corrupted. Or he doesn't get corrupted, he thinks it's the only choice to basically turn evil. And so he is the guy who creates the Burning Legion, and he's the head of it. And so I thought it would have been really cool if they had name-dropped him. But like I said, I could be wrong, but I don't even think this guy had a name in the original game.
He looks awesome.
Oh, dude, he looks so cool.
Jinx. Right.
Yeah, he's so cool. I really enjoyed him. He's the we get to actually fight him a little bit in one of the expansions.
Is that his first form?
Is what his first form?
Never mind.
That's a Draenei. Good try. Shade just pointed at a statue that my dad has had as long as I can remember, and he gave to me, and it's of a Draenei from like the BC, the Burning Crusade cinematic.
Hey, okay.
But now that I'm thinking about it, the comparison, mentioning demons and the Draenei in the same sentence, is actually an accidental connection, because though we don't get to see them in you had no idea.
Yeah, I did.
We don't see them in this movie, but in the game, in World of Warcraft, well, I guess they first show up in Warcraft. Whatever. Two of the most powerful demons, two of the heads of the Burning Legion, immediately below Sargeras, their names are Archimonde and Kil'jaeden. And what they are, their species is now called Eridar. But what the Eridar are
Are.
what the Eridar are dang it, are
So there's a box.
So there's this box. Is he gonna eat that baby? So the Eridar are they are Draenei, former Draenei, who were corrupted by the Fel. So you didn't mean to, but it was actually a close connection. I mean, Sargeras isn't an Eridar, so it's like 2-3 steps removed, but it's actually a good call.
Well, yeah, I've been playing WoW since I was like 1.
Oh yeah, you're definitely deep in the lore here.
I'm just kidding. I haven't even started.
Let me see if I can pull up a picture of Archimonde and
But that don't mean that I haven't in my past been interested in WoW and looked stuff up.
Oh yeah, I mean we've definitely talked about it 1,000,001 times. So this is Archimonde. Sorry,
okay.
This is Archimonde. He's an Eridar, and then let me just show you a picture of a Draenei. You can see the similarities.
Yeah,
You can definitely see.
it's the tentacles.
Well, oh, that's the wrong picture. Yeah, I mean, yeah, the tentacles. They got the same sort of head ridge.
Well, I'm not trying to be judgy.
And I think Kil'jaeden is red.
Hey,
Yeah, here we go. Yeah, this is a cool picture. I really like the art done here. Archimonde and Kil'jaeden, they're such fun. They're such fun fights in WoW. I think Kil'jaeden you fight in BC and in Archimonde. Yeah, because Kil'jaeden's in the Sunwell, and I want to say Archimonde. I don't think we interact with him in World of Warcraft until like the expansion for Legion.
okay.
You know, but anyways, yeah. So that final fight scene, I did not like it. I didn't think it was great. It didn't really feel satisfying, I guess, in any way. Not only did the CGI not look good, I was gonna say look bad, but then I started to say not look good. Anyways, not only was the CGI bad, but the fight itself, it felt, I don't know, not as grand in scale as you would think when you've got the greatest human warrior of all time allying with one of the more powerful mages in the universe, battling the most powerful magical user on the world, who is also possessed by one of the most powerful beings in the whole universe.
I could say it was kind of like limp, you know.
What? That was not the way to describe it. But okay.
No, it felt limp because it's just, I don't know. It's just I can't even like save myself down.
Wow.
I'm sorry. It fell flat.
Yeah. No. It definitely fell flat. And so, you know, we always talk about the cinematography in our fixations whenever we do reviews, and this movie, I mean, I think there were some cool shots, but they were a little bit overshadowed by the shots that I didn't like, and I didn't like them necessarily in the sense that I thought they were bad, but they did a lot of interesting camera work.
Yeah, I mean, I preferred the shots when it was more just like the orcs instead of the physical actors.
Yeah,
because they really went all out with the CGI for I guess the land and just the setting. You know.
Yeah,
it all looked very beautiful.
Yeah, no, the set design, the costume design, the art direction in this is absolutely beautiful.
Yes.
I had to quickly look it up, but the shot, what the shot is called that I don't like is called a dolly zoom. It's where you dolly in or out at the same time you're zooming in or out. And so it has that weird effect where it looks like the background gets farther away, but the subject stays in like the same spot.
Oh, okay.
I hate shots like that.
Yeah.
And they use that a lot in this. And I definitely didn't enjoy that.
Yeah, Zack Snyder tends to. Is it Zack Snyder doesn't?
I don't think Snyder does a lot. I mean, maybe, and I just don't remember. But off the top of my head, it's not something that I peg him for.
Yeah, but I mean, I can only remember really one of the zoom-ins from this movie.
Yeah,
and that was during the ending battle. With him dying, and that was it. But I still hate it. It still is very frustrating, and I don't know. It's kind of cringy. You kind of cringe at it because it doesn't work sometimes, and it's just, I don't know. It feels like I guess it feels like kind of some B movie type stuff.
Yeah.
So not something that a lot of movies should add.
Yeah, I don't like the shot at all. I don't know why I don't like it, but it rubs me the wrong way.
Yeah.
But at this point, let's transition to talking about the cast a little bit. I thought throughout the movie, the performances were good.
Yeah.
They were good. I don't know if any of them were necessarily great, although Durotan comes pretty close. I liked specifically, I thought the acting by Travis Fimmel on Anduin Lothar was good, but I didn't like the direction that they took the character.
Yeah.
I didn't really like him. He just, I don't know. He just didn't. It didn't feel like Anduin Lothar to me.
Yeah. Who could you remind me who Anduin Lothar is again?
The main guy.
Okay.
With the beard.
Oh, okay. Yeah. I guess he was kind of bipolar. With him, like, if he's just this kind of a-hole-ish, smirky or snarky guy to this loyal, like, this loyal, kind of heroic person, you know, and it was kind of here and there with it. And I don't know. I wish they would have stuck with one thing.
Yeah, I didn't like the part of his character that I didn't like was his like snarky tongue-in-cheek nature. That's the part that I didn't necessarily enjoy. But I personally liked that they juxtaposed that against his loyalty to the kingdom of Stormwind, which is very Anduin Lothar-esque. You know, he's called the Lion of Stormwind. You know, this is the probably one of the greatest human warriors that has ever lived. And he plays a huge role in the history of Stormwind following this. In the games at least. And so I really liked that they played into that. But yeah, I didn't like the tongue-in-cheek thing. I liked him much more. This is going to sound bad. I liked him much more after his son died. He was a much more serious character, and I enjoyed it because you could tell that there was like emotion and feeling there.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, he just lost his son.
I guess, yeah, his character development after his son's passing was a lot better. Mind you, his son kind of got done dirty, you know.
He got murked a little bit.
And then just thrown at an electric force field wall.
Yeah. But I really like that scene where not Doomhammer, Blackhand, he's holding on to Lothar's son, and he realizes that there's some sort of relationship between the two of them. Like, he realizes that Lothar is acting different when he's killing this guy than anyone else. And so he looks at him, and then he's like, okay. And then that's when he decides to kill him.
Yeah.
I thought that was some fun insight into the character of Blackhand. It shows you his cruelty and his ruthless nature. I thought it was really fun.
The ambush scene was pretty good.
Yes.
Not the one in the forest, the one kind of in that like rocky
That's
area.
the exact scene we're talking about already.
Oh yeah.
That's where Lothar's son dies.
Oh yeah, sorry.
Yeah, no, that I agree. That whole scene is really cool.
Yeah. I guess I'm more or less talking about just the ambush part. You know, the building up to it, because, you know, you can see the orc's head pop out of the gravel a little, and then you're just waiting for it.
Yeah. And I really liked the parlay between Llane, Garona, and Durotan. I thought that was really fun.
Yeah.
And I like to see I liked that as soon as the battle broke out, all of the Frostwolves, all of Durotan's clan left.
Yeah.
Left. And I think that I think somebody in the humans noticed it. I can't remember. I think they picked up, or they made eye contact with Durotan as he was leaving or something like that. Yeah. I think it was Lothar, because then later on, when he's imprisoned, he says, Garona says orcs don't lie, and Lothar says not Durotan, because he thinks they lured them into a trap or something like that.
Oh, okay.
But it was I really liked that scene. So final thoughts overall. I mean, the movie is definitely fun. It's definitely worth a rewatch. There are certainly parts that I don't necessarily enjoy. It definitely fails in some aspects. But it's interesting enough that, and I'm already invested in the story, but I think the movie is good enough that it does warrant a sequel at some point, with maybe a director who's a little bit, whose style and a better screenplay, let's say.
Yeah.
I think that would be really interesting to see. Obviously, this movie left the door open for a sequel, and I think it would be really cool to see, especially with today's technology.
Yeah, I agree. I very much enjoyed this movie. Again, it exceeded my expectations.
Nice.
And it is a movie that I feel like I will be going back to now that I know what happens, because again, there are a lot of scenes in this film that caught my eye. There are more scenes in this film I enjoyed than there are scenes that I didn't enjoy.
Yeah, I'll agree to that.
And yeah. So yeah, all in all, it was a very fun watch.
Yeah.
Very fun film.
I'd say it's a fun popcorn flick.
Yes.
And so here's the thing, is that I would be curious to know how I would feel about this movie if I didn't already love the universe.
Yeah.
I'm curious, if I came into this without knowing any of the characters, without knowing anything that's going on, would I find it enjoyable, or would I find it weird or confusing or over the top or something like that?
Yeah.
But I think it's definitely fun. It's absolutely a popcorn flick.
Oh, yeah.
It's available currently on Netflix. When it first was put on, I think it peaked at like number 6 in the US or something like that.
So, I mean, that 6.7 rating ain't nothing.
But I think we're going to leave it here.
Yes.
We will be back tonight at 8 o'clock for a World of Warcraft stream.
Heck,
we'll be playing
yes,
the game.
it will be my first time playing World of Warcraft, I believe.
We played it once before, but
Yes.
only for like a little while.
Yeah, like
So
maybe an hour or two.
It'll be your first time playing and actually playing through it.
Yes.
Well, because also the last time we played, we didn't go through the regular starting zone. We did the separate starting zone that they added like last expansion or something.
Oh, okay.
We went to like the faction specific starting zone instead of the race specific starting zone. Which there's nothing wrong about that, but I like the race specific starting zones, especially like the Orc, the Tauren. I really enjoy like the Night Elves. I think there's a lot of good ones. So I think we're definitely going to have a lot of fun. So join us tonight
Yes.
at 8 o'clock, and we will see you guys then.